Hello again. In this video we will be creating the exhaust and supply ductwork for the restrooms. So we're going to start off in our roof plan here. We'll just relocate the sections so we don't have to draw a new one every time. You can just pick this guy up and drag him over. Don't forget the blue lines here are the extent of your section. So let's pull this down a little bit just so kind of isolate our fan here. I'm going to go into my section. So you have your exhaust fan here, and remember you can click on the create duct button at the bottom and that starts your duct. You want to make sure that you have your mitered elbow taps type selected, and you can change your duct size to 14 by 14. Okay, so I'm going to go straight down. We're going to pull this guy down, and then I will pull this over because we're going to run this above the ceiling too. Click on this horizontal piece of ductwork here, and you see my reference levels from the roof. I'm going to change this to level 2 so I get a little better idea about what I'm working with. Put it at 12.2.5. I do like setting this at an even number because we'll be attaching other duct to it, and it's just easier if it's a whole number again. Now we have our duct created. So now let's go into our floor plan for the second floor. See, this is the duct that I just drew. We're going to run it over to this chase and then down to get to the first floor. So I want to right click, draw duct, or you can hit the hotkeys DT for duct and just run this straight up into this chase. Okay, don't worry about if you drew your duct too far initially. You can just click and drag it over to align it to wherever you need it. Okay, so now we have it going to the chase. Go into my vertical section, and looking at your vertical section, you can see that you don't quite see your chase wall. Now you know that we just drew it over that because we saw it in the plan here, and that's because this section is outside of this wall, or outside of the chase. It's basically you're seeing this wall in section view, and that's where it's stopping. Click and move the section where it's in the chase. Now we go into this section, and you see we have our chase. So I'm going to right click, draw duct, pulling it straight down, building level 2, and I'll drop that there. Next we're going to go back into our level 2 mechanical plan. I'm going to draw my duct coming from the bathroom over to my ductwork here. Let's actually get rid of the space tags here. We don't really use them, and they're just kind of getting in the way. So we're going to hide and view category. I should kill all of the space tags there. Alright, so I'm going to select my duct. I need to do DT for duct or create similar. Works too. See, we still have 14.14 and it kept 12.2. I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to pull it, and you want to make sure you hit your ductwork not on the elbow transition here. You want to keep these taps off of the elbows. So if you do accidentally hit it and it's into the elbow, let's turn on thin line to see. Yeah, it is a little bit. And just click and move him down a little bit. So let's go and do the same for the first floor. So I'm going to go to the first floor here. I'm actually going to pull this section up here because we're going to make a 90-degree elbow here and go into this restroom here from right here. Alright, so I'm going to go into my section and my duct here. I'm going to right click, draw duct. I'm going to go over, and you want it to be roughly the same length as the ductwork up here. I'm going to use my align tool to align this duct and this duct so we know they're the exact same. And finally, we want to make this duct and everything farther down the line to be a 10 by 12 instead of a 12 by 14. I can use my split line tool, so modify split line or SL use the shortcuts. And just up here near the top of this duct, I can click on the ductwork and change the size down here. So this one you can't use the tab because it will select everything. You can just manually select your different pieces, hold down Control, and get all of your ductwork here. So you want this to be 12 inches by 10 inches. Look at that in 3D. And there's our exhaust system right here. Now we're going to place a single duct VAV system on both the first and the second floor coming off the main trunk here to supply my restrooms. Let's go ahead and hide the spaces in here once again just to make things a little easier to see. And the single duct VAVs are in the families that I gave you from the shared drive. So you will go into your Project 2 All MEPs for Student family, and you can click on your terminal unit single duct Titus. The terminal unit single duct Titus, and you can just click and drag into your family. So we want to place a size 8. These are your VAV sizes. So I'll click on my 8-inch, and I will place these roughly on the line here. You want to make sure that your in is at the top and your out is at the bottom. By default, it came in at 0, so basically on the ground. So if I go to my 3D view, see my VAVs on the ground here. Our ductwork is 13 feet. Let's also place this at 13 feet. Let's go back into our first floor plan. Now I'm going to create oval duct for this. So we'll do DT for duct. We want to use round duct with taps and 13 foot, and we want the diameter to be 12 inches. And before we hook up this ductwork, we want to take a look at our system type. So we haven't really messed with this so far, but we want to make sure that if you see all the colors, they're basically, they're telling us what our systems are. So the yellow down here is exhaust. The blue up here is our supply. If I have this on exhaust air and I draw a piece of duct, see it's yellow. If I try to draw this duct and connect it to the system, see I'll get an error here, or warning, that it's different system classifications. It will let you draw it, but it's giving you a warning that you're trying to connect two different types of systems. From here on out, you really want to kind of be paying attention to your colors and your system types. So I will do DT for duct. We'll change exhaust to supply. And I will drop him, and we'll use flex duct for the last little run. Now unfortunately, if you accidentally add a piece of equipment to a different system, the easiest way I've found to correct the issue is to essentially delete and put in the unit again. So I can click on my unit here. I will hit Control X to cut, and you can do paste align to current view. That'll drop another one back in the same exact place. And now you see that you have it's black again, so it's not assigned to a system. So we'll do DT for duct. We will change this to supply. Pull this out of my tab I've already set. Place him. Right click, draw flex duct or FD. Place and little piece of flex duct here. Let's move it back just a smidge. Then continue on for the supply of the bathroom. So we'll go out, and it is a 10 by 10 square. We'll go straight down and then along the outer wall of the restroom. Alright, and once again, don't worry about if you overshoot or undershoot the bathroom, just click on your duct and move it around to where you want it. Alright, so let's go do that same thing for the second floor. Let me go to my second floor. Go find your terminal unit. Use an 8-inch. Come out here. Right, so DT for duct. Coming off the main duct here, we're going to use round duct again. Level 2, minus 2 feet. So we want to make this one 12.6. DT, if that's what you had it at. Do you need to flip this around? Supply. FD for flex duct. Out 10 by 12. Here to here. Here we have a intersection, so we actually want to go and kind of coordinate this ductwork where they're not running into each other. If they are, I did not raise my VAV unit here up off the ground. It should have been 12.6. I set it at 0. So that's fine. Let's change this to 12.6 after the fact. And you see it just pulls it up nicely. Alright, so we're going to go into a section and we're going to cut this duct here and we're going to make it hop over your exhaust duct. So while I'm in our horizontal section, I will do SL for split line. I will split it and just pull off this other piece over here. Alright, so you need to know, or you need to be aware that when you use a split line tool, remember it creates like a union or a transition piece. So we want to delete that so that we're just having a straight duct run. I'm going to pull it back here because we're going to go up 45 degrees and then parallel and then back down 45 degrees. So right click, draw duct. So you see that it snaps at 135, that's a 45 degree increment. So we'll draw this duct straight up, horizontal, and down at 45. Now use a trim extend to run these two together. Alright, so that is the transition piece. Make this hop over our exhaust. Next, we want to place our air terminals. So our air terminals are going to be in the systems air terminal section here. Let's go into start on our first floor. You want to make sure that you're placing the correct types of terminals. If you don't, later your systems won't work correctly. Make sure that you're using start air terminal. So if I click on type, you see that you have a supply diffuser, a return diffuser, and exhaust diffuser. Remember, we have the supply, which is the blue, we have the exhaust, which is the yellow, and we don't have return yet, but we will. And we'll go and place those diffusers because they're essentially just open to the plenum. I'm going to start off by placing some round duct coming off our square duct here. So I will very similar. This one is not 12-inch, we're going to go 8-inch for these. Basically just go from our duct here. Be careful with your section, we'll move that over in a minute. here. Same thing on this other restroom. Here. Remember the blue is supply, so we'll go to our systems, air terminals, supply diffuser, 12 by 12. In our properties here, we have up arrow, right arrow, left arrow, down arrow. And if I place this, it basically has all of the direction. So if you wanted to have this diffuser cut off certain angles, you could turn off where it doesn't blow this way. So this is how you would indicate which way the diffuser is blowing. For this, we're just going to have a straight diffuser so we can turn off all of these arrows. Move this in place. So you want to move this in place, and also don't forget your offset. By default, it's on 0. Go into our bathroom. I believe the ceilings are at 8 foot. So I'll go in here. So here's our diffuser. Here's our ceiling. So this is 8 feet up. Just give your unit an 8 foot offset. And there's your first supply diffuser. I'm going to create another, create similar. So 8 foot, level 1, perfect. And drop this here. I like to keep them aligned, so if it's not aligned this way, remember you can do your AL and just align them after the fact if you want. Here we will go FD for flex duct. And go from the, make sure it's 8 inches as well. Go from the round duct to the new diffusers. So you need to be careful if you decide to ever delete this flex duct and work and redo the connection. It creates this transitional piece here. So just know that if you do need to redo or do anything to your flex duct, you're going to need to delete that transition. Here. Alright. Let's adjust these guys, move this guy. Let's adjust these ducts, let's move him out just a little. This guy up here. And finally we're going to insert a round balancing damper, and that will be in the duct accessories. Now we want to load in a duct balancing damper. So we'll go to my insert, load family. This is going to be in the default library. So Imperial library here on the left will be duct, accessories, dampers. Then we have our balancing dampers here. We're using round duct for all of our pieces here. So we'll load in the balancing damper round. Once again, that was in US Imperial, duct, accessories, and dampers. Balancing damper. Alright, and then you see whenever you go to place it, by default, it's straight up and down. You know that it's attaching to your duct whenever you see the blue line there in the middle. And then you place it, and you see it interrupts your duct, and it basically creates a dampener. Those are for reducing the air manually to these dampers. Okay, so now let's do our exhaust. So we'll create systems, air terminals. Make sure we go to our exhaust diffusers here. Alright, I'm going to turn these options off right now. These we're going to put at the far north end of the restrooms. So here and here. I believe that's lined up. Let's do an AL just to make sure. Here, here. And let's make sure they're aligned also on this so that it's a straight row. You don't want them just kind of all over the restroom. So let's create the ductwork now for the exhaust. So I will do check my height first. We are level 1, 12.8. We'll create similar. We're going to change this to round with taps and 8 inches again. So 12/8. So these we actually will end up going into a section because if you do this and this, and we go into 3D, notice that these ducts now run into this main trunk. We're going to come in and we're going to dip these ducts underneath this trunk here. So I'll go back into my level 1. Now this one will use the vertical section so we can see our duct. Double click here. We'll use my split line again, so SL, and split the duct, split it about here. Separate this duct out, delete my transition here, and then move this underneath this duct here. Alright, so I'm gonna right click, draw a duct, bring this up at a 45 degree, then I will use trim just so I know I get the proper angle. Move my section over to the other duct, do the same thing. So SL for split line. You have to separate this duct out here because if you just leave the duct there and delete your transition, it goes back into one piece. So you have to separate your ducts first, then delete your transition. I'll move this down, right click, draw a duct at 45, TR for trim. You also have to be careful that you go down far enough. If you don't go down far enough and there's enough room for this 45 degree piece, or these two elbows here, that'll give you an error. You actually have to go back into the floor plan to draw your flex duct. So I'll do FD for flex duct here. You actually see that it created flex duct, but it put on my supply system. So you can try to click on the flex duct and change this to exhaust. So you change the air terminal as well. So right click, flex duct, see its exhaust here, and drop it into the air terminal. Now let's take a look at 3D. Looking pretty good. Alright, and finally for the first floor we will draw return air transfers. Transfer is essentially just a hole between two different areas that allows the return air to go from the restroom here in the plenum of the restroom here to the plenum of the open office here. So the transfers are just 3 pieces of duct. It's easier to do them in section because you need one going, it makes a U shape. So we'll go to my section here and I will draw a duct. You don't want to change this to return. Okay, so we know that here's level 2. We can move these ducts around after we've created them. So just create a use mitered elbow taps, rectangular again, and these are 10 by 10 inches. I'll come over and draw 1 foot down, 2 feet over, 1 foot up. You see we created a U shape here. If I go into my floor plan, here's what it looks like. take these guys and just copy them to the other restroom. Our supply here runs into this return, so we can just go to our first plan and nudge this up. Lastly, let's put in our air terminal return diffusers. So these are going to go turn off the arrows. These are going to go in between the supply and the exhaust. Supply and exhaust here. And so you want to be careful though, because if you drop them anywhere and it's hitting your exhaust here, hitting your ductwork here, it will try to attach. So let's first set its offset 8 feet. We'll drop him down. We'll drop it down. Drop another one down. Then I'm going to use the align tool and align these into line with my other diffusers. And I also do want them to be centered, so I can use my align dimension. And we use this trick a lot in the families we did in the architectural Revit class. You can create your dimensions, set it down, and you have your EQ sign here, and what that does is that forces whatever in the middle to be equidistant. So we can use our dimension and our equal distance here to get our diffuser lined up perfectly in the middle. You can delete the dimensions when you're done. It's just temporary. Now we will align this other diffuser. So now we look at our system. Everything looks pretty good. And you go and create the second floor just like we did our first.